Assalamu alaikum. I wanted to come on here and I wanted to reach out to anybody who maybe experiences the same thing. So, often the time when you're in your menstrual cycle, where there is this natural condition of tiredness, or whether that's you went through a stressful event, or whether that could be that you're just fasting, whatever the case may be, we do have moments of where we feel less productive, or we feel just a natural inclination to be more relaxed, to just lay low, to have this low energy, and to be with the low energy. But sometimes what happens is thoughts try to creep in and it goes into a really deep spiral. So, for example, I feel like just naturally tired, and then I attach that with I'm lazy, or then even more deep is that you're a bad mom. So it goes from something as a physical state, and then it starts to rob you spiritually, emotionally, because we attach thoughts that are not actually uh, belong to us, if that makes any sense. So whenever I start to feel a natural inclination of tiredness, like where I'm gonna lay low, I state that to myself, like today is going to be a relaxful day, but it starts to creep in, and then you start, by the end of the day, start feeling like very anxious. It's weird because you're in one state, but your whole body is fighting that particular state with, oh, but this gotta get done, oh, I see this, and then everything starts to get overwhelming. It's more that when you begin into this relaxing mode, anxiety is the most highest. This could happen for many reasons. Number one, it could be because of our parents' thoughts towards us as kids. Oh, why aren't you doing your homework? Or whenever you were, there's a lot of YouTube videos saying like YouTube videos that, like, when you're unproductive and your mom walks in, you pretend you're doing something, like it's a reality for some people. So when you're built that way, when you come into adulthood, when you have more self-control over that aspect of your life, you feel like someone is watching. Or there's these memes where your husband leaves to go do something outside, and then you're like, oh, I finally could be unproductive. Like, this is a reality for so many people, alhamdulillah. Another part of this is you the self-worth, and like there's self-esteem issues like that are also derived from childhood, or self-esteem is just low, and you we put ourselves too much in our actions, our worth too much in our actions, that when it comes to when we're doing no actions, we attach that to uh, a certain worth, like that we have or don't have. So what I do to combat this, number one, priorities. Say like fight those thoughts. Be like, nope, my priorities are these. So my particular triggers would be the house, the cleanliness of the house. Everything becomes heightened. Everything becomes messy. Everything becomes like, it becomes very overwhelming, very fast for me. That's one of my triggers. Like, that's where I spiral the most, is cleanliness. And with this, how I combat this is, I'm like, no, my servitude, my tongue, like the basically how I serve should be my tongue, and my focus is how I'm doing it with my spouse and my daughter. That's my main focus, how my outward actions are towards them. You know, that's my focus, especially in Ramadan. That is a focus. I don't try to let the house take over, and prioritize um, my good deeds, because a lot of good deeds come from people, and if you're very heightened, then you maybe start to show disrespect to the ones that you hold dearest, or you start to become like standoffish, or you become like in your tone, right? So I always try to like say, no, my priorities would be how my tongue is towards others, and then my house will come last. I'm not Islam doesn't require the servitude towards my house. He will not Allah will not ask you, why was your house this state. Like in extreme cases, we have a responsibility not to hoard or anything like that, but Allah will not ask you like, why didn't you eat an apple this day, or like, why didn't you, like, this is not going to be held to much account, but is going to be more of an importance in this month of Ramadan. This month will go by fast, so the priorities become very clear, or should start to become very clear, at least in this month. And yeah, so trying to battle one of my priorities and try to speak them as soon as these things afflict. This always happens where it's another day where I want to like finish the video. I find like I want to add a few more points. But basically the spiral of thinking like you're tired, therefore lazy, therefore I'm a bad mom. That whole spiral that I was talking about, I did want to say that it's actually quite the opposite. When you start thinking that you're lazy, that is actually somewhat the opposite. And I don't know if this is like a whisper of shaitan or something like that, but you're actually most likely exerting yourself. That's why you feel tired. Not just because naturally our body may feel tiredness, it may actually be that we're exerting ourselves, blood, sweat, and tears into something for the sake of Allah. And then when you're doing an actual good job of it, that's when sometimes when you're doing it for his sake, when you're narrowing it down for his sake, shaitan will get you by, well, like the day that you're not, quote unquote doing something, then you're basically bad at your role. But in reality, your contributions may speak louder, but we do not look at our contributions. We look at the current state, and we get swallowed in that current state. And that's why I believe that if I am exerting a lot in my lifetime, like I'm allowed to look at that as well. Like I don't have to waddle in the current state. I can look at how I got to this particular way. I think because also people do think that tiredness is a traumatic response, or there might have been something like you're in survival mode, and there's a lot to unwind, and it's really important to look at the bigger picture. I will be putting a video down below about Omar Suleiman talking about this concept of looking at a bigger picture as a believer. So I will be putting that below, and I will also be putting a video that I made about self-worth as a mother and talking about how I combat that as well. So inshallah, yeah, we can work on this inshallah. This month is short, and it's not a time to ponder in our our doubts about certain things. So like it's about time to grab what we can of this month.